Howdy, heretics. Tell me if you can hear my microphone. I can hear myself very well. Thank you very much. And I invited two nice apostates to be part of this, and I'm still waiting for them because I don't know. They, Jennifer and Matt, and you know Matt from me has a popular YouTube channel, and we're talking about activism, but they're not here yet. So maybe they're taking chloroquine and find this alien DNA demon sperm problem. I don't know. But I can just tell you, we were talking about activism. You know, I do a lot of protesting, and everyone say, and me included, I used to say that. I thought that was a very smart thing to say, that you're just feeding their persecution complex. Please tell me if you can hear me in the comment section. But so the activism, does it wake up people? Well, there was on Reddit now, a lady said that she woke up, she went to the convention in Melbourne, and the apostates were standing there with their sign. And in the evening, she went to jwfacts.com because she saw that sign, and she woke up. And I got a lot of messages from people waking up due to activism. Another said she was physically in, mentally in. When she came to the Melbourne Convention, she watched the signs, she did some research, and she left PMO. So can you hear me? Yeah, coming through loud and clear. So all my guests, you can't trust people nowadays. That's typical apostates. You can't trust them. Let's see if they send me some messages that are coming here. Jennifer says that she has kids in the background. I don't have a quiet there. That's okay. We love children. And Matt McMillan says, I'm trying to link from my computer, but I'm having trouble logging on. My wife said there may be an internet outage in the area. That's classy. Blame the internet and your wife. Yeah. So, and Neil said, I'm with the family. I'm afraid. Sorry. Do you need us to call the police for you, Neil? Just wink and we'll do it. So, okay, so maybe you don't want just me to... Hello, Watchtower History. So, yeah, the Australians, they're going to job now. Hello from England here. Sorry, I can't stay long. It's getting later. Well, you're 1 hour before us, so it's later here. Well, Chessa, you can always trust her. So since no one else coming on, I'm just posting the link here. So anyone that wants to pick it up and call in and talk about anything can use this link. Otherwise, I tell you one more story from the Melbourne thing. Someone told me, so I think it was the circuit overseer in Australia, were staying with them. And she didn't go to the convention, but she asked them about the protesters. And the circuit overseer said, they were peaceful. Thank you for acknowledging that. He said, they were peaceful, but no one were looking at their signs. No, everyone was ignoring them, but they were peaceful. And then she asked the circuit overseer, what did the sign say? And he said that love never shone. So they were looking at our signs. So I think someone have been watching them, at least at Circuit Overseer. Watchtower History, say hello. Firestorm, if no one wants to call in, you can seek glory for yourself. That's what apostates do. I post a link now, and if you have a good connection, you can just click on that link, and you will be on. Easy as that. You just need a good connection to your computer. Don't have anything to say, Watchtower History. I highly doubt that. So, anyway. No, please call in. Okay. Have you anyone wonder about snakes? You know, in the witnesses always talked about snakes when we were Jehovah Witnesses, that because I've always been interested in nature as a child, and asked why are they venomous? And the witnesses said that maybe we will use them as medicine in the future. So And they also said that in paradise we will have no hospitals and no doctors because everyone will be healthy. So I spent a lot of time thinking about that as a child. So imagine in paradise, I go to a big building with a sign up front that says, not a hospital. And then I knock at the door and talk to the brother called not the doctor. And I say, how are you doing? And he says, I'm feeling wonderful like always. And asks me how I'm doing. And I say, I'm feeling wonderful like always. And I ask him, how's your wife doing? And he says that, well, she has perfect health like everyone else. And asks, how is my family doing? And I say, it's wonderful. And they have perfect health like everyone else. Life is like an eternal orgasm. But just in case, let's take some cobra venom, because we can't question God. He created cobra venom, so for a reason. So I just thought I should go to not the hospital, talk to not the doctor, and take some cobra venom for my good health. And then we'll go to the Mount of Zion and sing Jehovah's praise forever and ever and ever and ever. And if you don't do that, he will kill you. Talking about killing, here's Jeff. Hello.
Oh, you're not going to kill me, are you?
No. So if you don't seen this guy before, he's never been witness, but he's a nerd witness. He knows everything about history.
And we've had some fun on the channel lately with some interesting discussions. We even stopped to see Ellie from Ellie's Big Toe this week. We were.
Could you repeat that?
So this week we stopped to see Ellie from Ellie's Big Toe.
Okay.
We were up near her and made a stop by and spent time with her and her mom this week. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Walked by the beach.
Yeah, you have some lakes up there.
Yeah.
Freshwater lakes. Obviously I've never been there, but so we have Jennifer also. She turned off her microphone and she only had an avatar. Let's see when. Hello.
Hello. Hi, I'm here now. I'm so sorry about that. I turned off the mic for a second there. My daughter was talking to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. And thanks to Pam Peterson giving a super sticker. If you have any question for Jennifer, she will answer you anything.
Yes, I will.
So Jennifer, you can tell us your story because you left. Were you the first one in your family that left?
Yes. Okay, so when I first left the organization, it wasn't really by choice because I was disfellowshipped. And so I was 18. No, I think I was 19. I was either 18 or 19. I was working part-time, going to university. It was very stressful to balance that and to be a regular pioneer.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I guess at one point I just felt like it was too much, like on my plate, and I couldn't handle it. And but I didn't want to stop pioneering and be judged, and I didn't want to stop going to university, and I didn't want to quit my job. So in the end, I don't know, I started making bad decisions. Not bad decisions, but for a Jehovah's Witness, yes.
Bad associations, then.
I'm sorry?
Bad associations, huh?
Yes. Well, not so I wouldn't consider them bad associations, but I just started talking to my coworkers more, and I started realizing that they were good people, even though they were not witnesses. And that was one of the biggest culture shocks, I guess, from a Jehovah's Witness perspective, being raised in that my whole life and working for the first time in the real world, being around these worldly people that were so loving and friendly and accepting. So that was a surprise for me because of how I was raised, and I started talking to them, and they were so respectful. I told them I was a Jehovah's Witness in the beginning when I started working there, and they were all of my coworkers were very respectful, and they never offered me anything like I was expecting them to. You know how the Watchtower teaches us that, that every worldly person out there is out to get you, pretty much.
Here, have a smoke or a drink.
Exactly. So I was kind of waiting for that to happen, and I was
Yeah,
the
they
youngest.
always try to push
Yeah.
drugs on you for free. In the literature.
Right? For free. Who wants to share their drugs for free?
Yeah.
But that was very surprising, and they were just so like nice. And I remember I even asked one of my coworkers, he was gay and he was a smoker. We were on our break together, and I asked him, "Why aren't you offering me to smoke with you?" I was so surprised. I thought that they were bad influences, but they weren't. He said, "Oh well." He was just like, I don't, I know you're a Jehovah's Witness, so I don't see like why I would offer, like, I kind of already assume that you're gonna say no, right? Unless if you want to." It was an interesting conversation to have, but so I started chatting with an old middle school friend that I had. He was a boy. I was like 18 or 19, but he just, I don't know, he was interested in me and more than friends, and he pressured me to like go on dates, but I was so scared at the time. I literally told him, let's only go in the drive-through and park really far away from all the other cars, so that way nobody can see me with you alone. That's that's how like how afraid I was, for another witness to see me around him, knowing that he wasn't a witness, and that and it was just me and him, because in the JW world, that's wrong. You can never be alone with somebody of the opposite sex. I'm sure it happens, but you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And so yeah, little by little, things kind of escalated from there, and he pressured me, and I never felt like I don't know, I just kind of went with it. And I think it was because part of me was just so tired of everything, with the pressure of getting my service hours done. And oh man, that was so stressful. My family, I never felt like I could just relax. I was always busy. It was so stressful. I think it was just the control, the level of control the organization had on my life. A part of me was just like dying to get out and live my life and be my own person. So I think that's why I make those decisions.
We should
Sorry
be
about the
afraid.
background noise.
We should be afraid of organizations that try to control their members through fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Needs to be involved there. Hi,
Yeah,
Chester.
we learned it in school in
Hi.
Sweden that if you want to rule the world, the first thing you should do is convince your followers that there's an invisible enemy that wants to kill them, and you're the only thing protecting you from the invisible enemy. If it's a conspiracy or a deep state, or it's media, or it's the Zionist conspiracy or anything, but there's an invisible enemy that really wants to kill you.
Well, and it's thought monitoring, and they obviously can't tell what you're thinking all the time. So what better way to get people to alter their thinking than to tell them that somebody else, an invisible sky daddy, is watching everything they're thinking and feeling? It's like your thoughts become espionage if you think anything other than what they want you to think. It's really crazy to think about once you leave, like the level of thought control we were actually under, and how many people don't even recognize that they're still in that.
Yes, I completely agree. Like, just the other day, I was talking to my little sister, and we were talking about how much control they had over us. And I specifically remember being a child in like elementary school, probably like 7 or 8 years old, and on Valentine's Day, being terrified that Sky Daddy Jehovah was watching me and everything I was doing, and feeling so anxious and guilty because I actually ate my Valentine's candy. I secretly would eat it before I got home from school, before anybody would see, and I would throw everything else away. And I remember feeling so guilty about that. Like, that's so sad, that kind of control, especially for a child to endure, to go through. And so, yeah, I definitely agree with you guys, with you.
Did you go confess to your parents after you did it, or did you confess to anybody, or did you just feel internally guilty?
I'm sure I don't remember confessing to them. I think I was afraid of the consequences. A lot of the times I would do things and I wouldn't tell anybody, but I would live with that guilt. And I just remember feeling really like guilty for little things.
Oh
Like
yeah, I used to
yeah.
tell on myself all the time, and for me it was birthday cakes when I went to school because I loved cupcakes and stuff. And so like
Mhm.
first grade, second grade, kids would have birthdays at school, and my mom would have discussions with me on a weekly basis. If so and so's birthday is coming up, I think she had the calendar or something. She was like, "I want you to remember Jehovah and how much you love him." Blah 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 blah. So I'd go to school and I couldn't resist the cake. Like I was a goner as soon as it was in the classroom. I was like, "Gimme." So I would feel so guilty, but so happy. And the guilt would just wear on me all through the school day. I couldn't focus on what the teachers were saying. I was sweating, from the guilt.
Mhm.
So by the time I got home, my mom could tell on my face what happened. So she would say, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" And again, looking back on it as an adult now, I'm sure she had the schedule. And I'm sure they had kids' birthdays on the schedule or something, or the teacher told her. So she would ask that, and she would go make some pink lemonade. It was always pink lemonade. And she'd put it down. She'd put the glass down. She'd be like, "All right, tell me what happened." And then I would just bawl and drink pink lemonade. But looking back on it now, just, that guilt as a kid, Valentine's Day is something where you're supposed to be excited. You're supposed to get letters and, there's candy and you get to make letters. Like it's mostly innocent as far as I know now. But being raised Jehovah's Witnesses, it's like, one of the worst days of the year, essentially.
She hates pink lemonade, but you can't have
I
everything.
still like pink lemonade, even though I know it's like thought mind control thing. I still enjoy it on occasion. Just I don't drink it around too many people because it could influence me during the drinking process.
I remember in my congregation, they told us that they told us about birthdays because we didn't know anything about birthdays. But I remember my parents and also the elders said that on birthdays, they pretend to have fun, but as soon as the parents leave the room, all the kids gang up against one of the kids and bully them. So as a Jehovah Witness kid, you just assume that, okay, all of them are going to gang up against me and bully me. So we were very adamant that we didn't want to go to birthday parties because we'd been told that we would be bullied. And, they do stuff like that on purpose. It's not like a coincidence that all the parents and all the elders were telling the kids the same story. That, like in general, that's what happened on a birthday party. They gang up and bully one of them.
It's easier to control through fear.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been showing on our channel is some of the fear that they were putting in the members just to force them to follow.
Yeah.
Fear
Just
religion,
really
it's an
strange
age-old recipe. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Could you give one example?
I mean,
More than
fear and
Armageddon.
religion is an age-old recipe. You look back at Stalin, and the way he controlled people was obviously through fear. And he said, religion is the opiate of the people. We have Mao. We have people who have come in and eviscerated religion. Like there was a very strong religious country, and then people came in like modern China, and they've destroyed temples. They've completely disassembled pretty much most of the national religion there in China. Buddhism is just like a title now. It's really not a practice anymore. So you look at nations like that, and then you look at nations like North Korea, where it's Judaism, it's the religion of the state of North Korea, and they're worshipped like gods. It's a very similar kind of pyramid to Jehovah's Witnesses. Actually, it's the easiest one for me to relate to mentally. And then you look even back in Greek and Roman times, sex trafficking has been happening for aeons. It's recorded and documented all through history. So you look back at the Greek and Romans and the things they used to do. When we first got here to America, New Orleans, if you look at the history of New Orleans and the way things were originally set up there and the things that happened there, it's insane how groups of people will get together and build these structures. And they'll structure them around some sort of ideal, whether it's political or government, and just completely control the masses through it. You set a state of normalcy. Like, look at Iran. Iran wouldn't be normal to most of us here, but there's an entire nation of people where it's a completely modern everyday occurrence that women are not usually outside. They don't drive, so I mean, people are easily controlled by government and religion.
My wife grew up under communist Romania, and a lot of the tricks that the communists would use to mind control them are exactly the same things the Jehovah's Witnesses did. Anyone outside of the organization or anyone outside of Romania, they were all evil and were out to get you in some way. So they were literally afraid of everybody outside of the country. Now, she wasn't a Jehovah's Witness either, and neither was I, but that fear that they had under communism, just having to hide everything and not even to express your true thoughts. It was very
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeff, what kind of you said fear tactics Watchtower used? We all know about Armageddon, but did you dig up something else?
There's all sorts of things. The one we're working on now is the sheep and the goats one, and that's probably going to be a 3 or 4-parter, but it's pretty much be afraid of everyone else because only we have the truth, and they might tell you they have the truth, but it's impossible because here's what proves we have the truth, and don't trust them, and be very, very afraid because only we can have the truth. Just starting that brainwashing, making them think and trust me, I'm the chosen one, is basically what Rutherford keeps saying. Trust me, don't trust anybody else.
And as somebody who was born and raised in, I don't completely fully understand how other people, can choose to pretty much change their whole life for any organization, that has this kind of control, and how they can make sense of it and like be okay with it. But I don't know. I don't understand. But I'm sure, of course, the organization has more power because they have practiced with mind control techniques and and all that stuff like propaganda. And what do you guys think about that?
Says the reporting on each other is surely a communist tactic, and that's exactly what it was. You had to be afraid of everyone around you, everyone you worked with, your neighbors. Even family members could turn you in. So it's literally almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, also psychological conditioning. There's a lot of psychological conditioning research that's been done even in the Second World War. And you look at places like Unit 731, which was near Harbin, China, on the border of China, North Korea, and what they did there with human experimentation, not only physically but mentally. And you look at the Germans back in World War II when they were doing human experimentation and live vivisections. They also did experimental thought research where they would put people in confined cells. They would put them under duress, different experiences. Even the CIA has implemented those tactics. So, religions have been doing it for a long time now. And really, it's just, structures of humanity. But once you start learning a lot about anthropology, along with, what's the word for it? Sociology.
Psychology?
And you start learning about how groups of people interact with each other, not just singularly, like the singular problems we all experience, but together as a unit, how you can control people and the operations you would use, and the psychological conditioning of making people have a sense of normalcy and conditioning them to think that their ideals fall in line with the lifestyle they're living, and then telling them that any alteration of that will ruin their life. People are going to cling to that sense of normalcy that they have, even if it's not ideal. Maybe they're coming out of circumstances that were far worse, or they don't know anything else. They have nothing else to relate to other than being a Jehovah's Witness and living with those lifestyles and ideals. And they don't have the practice of actually growing their own. So they have nothing else to look towards or cling to.
Yeah, see, that's what I don't understand, though, because you have people who convert to Jehovah's Witnesses who have already lived their life, and have their personal set of ideals, and then they choose to pretty much give it up, or maybe they find certain things that they agree with.
I think some people are afraid. Some people doubt themselves, and they like to be told what to think. They like to be told what to believe. They don't want to think for themselves.
That's true. I guess it should be easy.
Looking into sales and marketing, it's very similar to being a pioneer. And I know, Jonas, you were a pioneer as well. So, you become an expert at sales and converting people, and you draw on people's insecurities. And when I was in pioneer school, we didn't look at it as something bad. We thought, oh, well, these people have children. Maybe they're worried about, school, stuff like that, education. So maybe we'll approach them that way. What we were really doing was focusing on the insecurities that they had. And then we would go to the door and we would talk about all the negatives of the world and like really validate their insecurity. And then we would give them a hope. And Jehovah's are the happiest people on earth. So we would be happy while we were giving them that hope and security and saying that we had the truth, we had safety, we had security, and here's a future hope for you. They're sold, People have real fears they're dealing with, and nobody can give them answers because there's sometimes not answers to some of the things that we're dealing with. We all try, but nobody's found the secret recipe to curing the world yet. But if you tell somebody that you have it and it's in the future, it's secured there. You just have to wait for it. And while you're invested in it, you might as well invest your money, your time, your family, everything you have to make sure you're in that program. Same as life insurance. Same as anything else.
So it's a get out of hell free card.
Yeah, essentially. Well, that's what it's supposed to be. But don't do anything normal to you. Don't have any normal thoughts or inclinations. Make sure that you live this one basic narrative, of whatever family is featured in the Watchtower every month, which whether or not those people are real, I don't know. But those are the models we have as stories. Downsize. If you worked your whole life and you've built a successful company and your family is secure and your kids could go to college, throw it all away because otherwise you're going to die at Armageddon. How many people fell for that? My family did. Lost everything. Blood transfusions. People who refused their children blood transfusions because they were too afraid their children wouldn't be resurrected at Armageddon.
Yeah.
I remember the JW Broadcasting, they had that one episode about the little boy who they didn't give the blood transfusion and he died. And they were proud about it. They were boasting that was a good thing, that the child died because of his beliefs.
Yeah.
Sad,
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, that reminds me of, sorry, one of the things that I use the most when I'm talking to indoctrinated active JWs is that Watchtower or Awake magazine article. I don't remember what year, but on the cover it has like some children and it says youth who put Jehovah first, and it's pretty much about these kids who were sacrificed and they died because they refused blood transfusions, and their parents of course supported that. So that's just that alone, like that just shows you how much control this group has over these people, and that it's extremists. They're willing to die. That's crazy. And these are children too. It's not adults that are fully more developed and are capable of making their own decisions. It's children.
Yeah. Do you remember that magazine, with all the pictures of children that put Jehovah first? You remember that one?
Yes, I do. And most of them related to having died.
Yeah, but did you go with it from door to door?
I don't remember, honestly. I don't remember doing that one. I probably did, but it wasn't one terribly to say.
I remember that, and that was so embarrassing.
So were you like dissonant while you were presenting that one? Had you kind of woken up at that point?
No. I was hiding it behind the Watchtower. Normally, we hide the Watchtower behind the Awake. Because, I was a smart kid and I thought it was the truth, and I was memorizing things. And, I tried to explain to doctors, I could say erythropoietin when I was 7 years old, We learn all this stuff. But the main thing was that blood transfusions are dangerous. The doctors wants to kill you, we know better than the doctors. Blood transfusion are bad. You don't need blood transfusion. You can just give the patient water instead. It was one of the things my father always used to tell people, that the doctors were wrong, because he said blood is mainly water, so you don't need a blood transfusion. You only need a water transfusion.
That's hilarious. Hilarious. Oh my god.
Because we got it from Watchtower. But then for all my life, I was a kid back then, but still it was 100% of my life. All my life I've been out knocking at people's doors and telling them that you have a bigger chance of survival if you don't take a blood transfusion. And now I have a magazine full with dead kids. And what Watchtower do, they take your allowance when you're a kid. They take your allowance hostage. You have to give your allowance to Watchtower. Then you get magazines, and you have to sell them, and then you get your allowance back. So I was standing there. Should I lose I was thinking about just throwing them away, but then I would lose my money. So I went out and sold them anyway because I wanted my money back. That was not a happy day.
So
because then
you were
money and only money.
I'm going to have to
Jonas, so
research
you were-
why they reversed the organ transplantation one. I've forgotten that.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
make for a good discussion.
I remember that. I mean, I don't know if I was old enough, but I know about it because I read about it. But Jonas, I was going to ask you, so you were an active publisher and you remember preaching when they would sell the magazines?
Yeah.
He's old like me.
Yeah, I used to sell them. And we were very proud of I always said this is just a and I thought it was a miracle because I was a kid, and takes things literal, and that's why parents tell them literal things if they want to pretend that this is magic, because we were told that there were no surplus funds. This is exactly what it cost to sell them, and the price was 1 kroner and 50 öre Swedish currency, which is, a complete coin. So I thought this is, there's never fractions of a coin. So I thought this is an actual miracle, But then, now obviously now I know they had like a 75% profit on it. So it adds up to big sums, with no taxation on it. But we used to
And then
sell
when you're not paying the workers too, when
Yeah,
you
and I
have
remember
employees that
I
are
used-
all volunteers.
Yeah, and I remember I was out in, Special Pioneers. So I would knock at the door and try to place. We didn't sell it, we placed them. It's very important. We're not allowed to sell. We are placing the literature in exchange for money. Like when you go to McDonald's and they place you a hamburger. Anyway, but the Special Pioneers, they would not offer, they would show the magazine, and then they would offer a prescription. And I thought they were so cool that they would do that. So normally the publishers would constantly offer the magazine, but the Special Pioneers offered prescriptions. But now I know why. Still back then, the last thing, because originally Jehovah's Witnesses were paid to sell literature. And this got away little by little. But the last thing they hold on to was that, even in my days, that Special Pioneers got to keep 50% when they sold a prescription. So that's why the Special Pioneers were always trying to sell a prescription and not a Watchtower.
Nigel found the issue. That's May 22nd, 1994, Awake magazine.
The with the dead kids.
Yeah, I'm looking that up now.
I think that I have that one on the Memorial website too, because I referenced it for the protest that we did. It should be on there. I just have like the cover, I believe. But yeah, that's definitely something for everybody to look up, because it's a great reference when you're talking to people about blood transfusion and the society's practices and policies with that. It's really something too. It's been discussed in the courts. There was that movie that came out, was it 2 years ago in Britain, where there was the young kid, he was a son, I forgot the name of it, but he was a son, and the judge of the case to decide whether or not he could refuse a blood transfusion was moved to meet the boy because she wanted to try to talk him out of choosing against it, and then in the end he chose against it and died anyway. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah.
I can
Definitely
figure out how to
something
hold
to
it.
read. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, they always debate whether the governing body really believes it or if they're just faking it. And I do believe most of them believe it. And I think that magazine proves it, because that's such a ridiculous magazine to go and deliver from door to door would they actually believe that people would pick up this, read it, and say, "Oh, I changed my mind about Jehovah's Witnesses"? They sound really reasonable.
Great idea.
It's a terrible magazine. It's the worst thing they could do. The only way they could do it was.
I think a lot of them are just, they grew up Jehovah's Witnesses. They are isolated from the rest of the world, and what they think is the greatest thing, they don't always realize how cultish it looks to people outside of the organization.
Well, and even out of the organization, there's always that argument in court whether or not freedom of religion trumps the ability of life, to continue. Do you allow parents to make decisions in the case of children who are suffering terrible diseases, to allow them to refuse that blood transfusion with like a 90% chance that child is going to die just for the sake of a religious policy? And, having a religious policy privilege is entrenched in every single government on this planet. You think about clergy penitent privilege. There's a lot of privileges that religions have with every form of government on this planet that nobody has really looked into, because most of us have been attached to some sort of religion before. Most of us were taught to rationalize how these certain policies of religion, this Armageddon insurance that we were sold on, is more important than seeing your kid for the next 10 years. And I think, in the next decade or so, talking about religious policies and corporate policies that are trumping over human rights is going to be a huge discussion in worldwide. And I really hope that leads to some better ways to attack things like this, because should people have the right to refuse a transfusion? Absolutely. That's a human right. Should it be based on whether or not they're going to lose their Armageddon insurance? That shouldn't be the case. That's when it gets cultish.
Oh, I want to make a point about earlier how we were talking about how is there a possibility that the governing body members, like, do they know if it, if do they believe it or not? I think that within the organization, especially for men, but also women can have these traits. There's a lot of narcissism. I remember in my judicial committee, the coordinator, he was extremely rude to me, and it I don't know, he acted very differently when he was around the other elders and in the congregation. Like when it was in private, the first time I ever talked to the elders, it was just him and one other elder. And when I talked to them the first time, he was extremely judgmental. He didn't have a Bible with him, and he was kind of making fun of me. Like his whole attitude was very I don't know, he just had a really negative demeanor, and he was talking down to me like I was a child. But later on in the congregation, he would act like so different. It was just really surprising. I think that there's definitely a lot of people, especially the men that are in charge, they enjoy having the power and privileges and making decisions about other people's lives. I think they really like that. And so even if they believe it or not, I think that there's definitely wolves in sheep's clothing. Just a sec.
Yeah, I've seen like psychopaths do that, and they can do it in the congregation. They are nice to everyone, like ridiculously nice to everyone, and then they just find one person and destroy his life, like someone did to me and my ex-wife in this congregation. He's a complete psychopath, I believe. But he always pretend to be. But I've seen the pattern, how he singled out people, would badmouth them, spread rumors about them. So when they said something about him, no one would believe them, stuff like that. He did it to others, and in the end, he did it to me. And he's a bad guy. Some of the other elders were nice people, but he's a bad guy. So it's the same as you saw.
Well, I mean, you think
your story, Jennifer.
Oh yes,
you
please.
Fellowship because of this guy, I guess.
I'm sorry?
Tell us the rest of your story.
Oh yeah, I didn't finish my story. So when I was disfellowshipped, I didn't feel like I did something wrong, because I didn't have the intention of doing anything wrong, and I didn't have sex. It was more like, I don't know, whatever some of the things that people do before sex, right? But in my Jehovah's Witness mind, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. So, and And the person that that I was talking to at that time, he was just very like pushy, and I don't know, I didn't have a lot of self-confidence, I don't know, and so, or self-esteem, and so I guess I kind of just like just thought like, oh well, as long as I don't tell anybody, or and so later on I went home, and I started avoiding my parents a lot, and I started getting really like, I was more like quiet and reserved, and I guess my family noticed, and my mom started like, I don't know, I guess like assuming things, and she got my phone, went through it, and I don't know. So she eventually, it led to her yelling at me and her telling me, I'm gonna go to the elders, I'm gonna tell them like you're doing something or you did something wrong, and you're gonna get your privileges taken away, you won't be a pioneer anymore, and all this stuff. And so my 19-year-old self, which now looking back now as an older person, that was almost 10 years ago. So I've grown so much as a person. So when I look back at that time and how I was and my mentality, I really think being raised in the religion, in the cult, and because we all call it different things, but being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, pretty much, I think it really delayed my development, like mentally. And so when I think about how I was at 18, 19, I think that mentally, emotionally, like I wasn't 18 or 19. I think I was more like 15 because of my thoughts and my, like, I don't know, just how I viewed things because of the influence of the organization. I think, it really limited my way of thinking. So at that time, I was just so scared of the elders confronting me and my family, and I really felt like what I did was really wrong, and because I never went to the elders, that they were going to disfellowship me and my family would kick me out, and I was just thinking the worst, and I didn't want to go through that. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I can't do this, I don't want to deal with this. And either way, I've been unhappy for I don't even know how long. Like I don't want to deal with this, I have my job, and it was just I made the decision to leave my parents' home, my parents' home. And so I called that guy I was talking to, and his parents were Jehovah's Witnesses. We kind of grew up together, but we were not very close. Up until, I don't know, we would talk, and we weren't really close, because I was indoctrinated, so I wasn't close to anybody that was not a witness. But I called him and I told him, hey, you want to move out of your parents' house too, right? And he said, yeah, of course. He was an atheist, and his parents were extremely religious. They were like believing active Jehovah's Witnesses. So in the end, we moved out, and we got an apartment together, and I just completely, like, it was like, I don't know, one night, like I think it was that night, like I just waited for everybody to go to bed. I did not want to go to the elders. I was just afraid of what was going to happen, and I didn't want to have to deal with it, and I didn't even care what happened to me. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I've been really depressed and suicidal. Like, I'm out. Like, I can't do this. So we left. He came to my house, and my family was sleeping. I got like a lot of my stuff that I could fit in some bags, and I left. I got in his car, and I was just so afraid of what was going to happen and what my family was going to do. I had three siblings, and my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles that were close to me. Everybody I cared about was Jehovah's Witness. So I couldn't bear like living in a way where I knew that they were going to be treating me a certain way. Because growing up, I don't know, my family, they were very judgmental of people who were not in good standing. My mom was a regular pioneer, my sister was too, my daughter was really active, and it was just like, I don't know, I already knew what they were going to be like, so I didn't want to be around that. And I left home, and I got an apartment with my like friend, I guess. I didn't really feel like he was my boyfriend, but I guess he was, but I didn't really see him that way. I don't know, I just kind of, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was completely lost, and it's just so sad that that had to happen that way. And I never felt like I could go to an adult and just talk to them about what was going on, how I felt. Like all the people that I thought I could talk to were witnesses, and like I didn't feel like I could tell them anything. So
You can't talk to anyone because they will report you.
Yes. Either way, that was already happening. My mom was like she was just assuming the worst and telling me these things. So
What about
I
your
was like, I'm sorry.
What about your family now? They still won't talk with you 10 years later?
So what happened was, me and my friend moved in together, um, and I don't know, he was really interested in me, but I didn't really know, but because we were living together, my family, they would call me, but they would just call me to tell me to talk to the elders, and they never once said, oh, you can come back home, like let's just pretend this never happened. I knew that was not a possibility anyways. They just kept telling me, you need to talk to the elders, you need to talk to the elders. So I did, like 6 months later, because I was trying to avoid it as much as possible, but they didn't talk to me. Besides that, they would call me like once a month or text me and tell me, you need to talk to the elders. And so eventually I did, because my family told me, if you talk to them, we won't like stop talking to you. We're gonna help you as long as you try coming back to Jehovah or whatever. And so I was like, okay, they're not gonna just like abandon me. They're gonna actually help me go back. But that was not what happened. I went to the elders. They disfellowshipped me. I think it was more because they were trying to make an example out of me because I was a pioneer, and they couldn't just take my privileges away because I waited that long to go to the elders too. So it was all these factors. And they told me I had to get married or leave, and I didn't know where to go. And no, I remember now. No, the elders didn't tell me to get married. My mom did. So my mom kept telling me, we're not talking to you anymore until you need to get married. And she just kept pressuring me. She would call me and tell me, go to the elders or get married. And this was a time when I didn't have anybody to talk to. I felt completely alone. I felt like nobody understood me. Nobody was there for me. And my friend, like what a boyfriend, whatever he was, he didn't really understand. And so I felt like I had no choice. I don't know, just like the way I'm telling you, like even though I was 18, 19, I really do think, looking back, that I was mentally like probably 14 or 15. I didn't know what I was doing at all, like because of the control and the, what is the word? Like all the control the organization had on me. I never really knew how to make decisions on my own like that, I guess. I don't know. But so we got married. I actually married the guy. His, like, it was not a wedding. We just went to the court and got married just so we wouldn't be living together and it be, a bad thing. So from there, my family completely started shunning me, even though I was married, because I went to the elders, I got disfellowshipped, and I just never went back. And so my family, they just all stopped talking to me completely. My mom, my parents, my dad, my siblings. And then later on, I want to say like 3 or 4 years later, my husband I was married to, he was just very responsible and mature. He was not ready to be married, but he wanted to marry me. He was more like interested in being married than I was. I was just doing it because I felt like it was the right thing to do because of my beliefs at the time, and my family pressuring me. And so I didn't believe in divorce, but he became like very verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, and like he would push me and all this stuff. And so it was not a very healthy relationship. I actually left him and I went to a women's shelter because I had nowhere to go and I didn't have any family. So I was there for like a month or so, and at that point, my mom was divorcing my dad, even though it was unscriptural. She blamed him for me leaving the house, and my little sister was suicidal. She blamed him for that. She blamed him for everything pretty much, and she got the elders to take her side. And so they allowed her to just divorce him without her having any kind of consequences. So she divorced my dad and kicked him out of the house and got a restraining order against him. I don't know, she's crazy. But she was completely indoctrinated and she was doing that. I don't know. And so my dad had nowhere to go and he stayed with his sister for a little bit, like a couple months. At that point, I think my dad realized that the religion was not what it was because they allowed that to happen and he didn't do anything wrong. Like she had no reason to do that. She was just unhappy in her marriage and she wasn't happy for a very long time. So she blamed him for me leaving the house. She said that he was abusive and he wasn't. She said that my sister was suicidal because of him and it wasn't true. And so Anyways, my mom divorced my dad. My dad got out of the house, and he started kind of slowly waking up, but not completely. He just started realizing that in the organization, it's really up to the men that are in charge, the elders.
Yeah.
You know, what happens if you're disfellowship or not, or all these things, because he was pretty much telling them, you know, my wife, she's lying, like, this isn't true, like, ask my kids. And they didn't care. They didn't even ask my siblings. They didn't ask me. They never reached out to us. They just completely took her side, and it was very biased, I think. I don't know why they did that. I don't know, but so he contacted me later on, and he told me, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, your mom divorced me, and I'm like struggling, and like I heard that you're struggling." And he asked me if I wanted to move in with him and his sister, my aunt, who's also a Jehovah's Witness, but she was okay with it as long as I didn't talk to her. And so yeah, so
We don't destroy families, by the way.
I'm sorry?
We don't destroy families, by the way.
He's being
But we
sarcastic.
allow them to live together as long as they don't talk.
Right? It was so strange. I never felt welcome in my own aunt's house. It was so weird. Like, I did not feel welcome. I was staying with her and my dad, and it was just so strange. Like, even my dad too, like, he would tell me, "Oh, I'm only talking to you because I believe that you're gonna go to the meetings. You're gonna go to the meetings, right?" And I was just like, "Yeah, sure. I'll go with you. Like, I don't have to go out of my way. Like, I'll just go with you when you go." And so I would go with him to the meetings, and so he was like, "I'm only talking to you because you're going to meetings, but you cannot eat with me, and you cannot sit with me when I'm eating, and like, we cannot eat, and we can't talk at the Kingdom Hall. Like, I don't want anybody to see me talking to you." Like, that's so sad. And so that's how it was. We would go to the Kingdom Hall, and when he would park, like, he would just get off and walk away, and I would get off and get like my babies. I had a baby, like a 3-month-old, and I had a 2-year-old, and so I would, like, the other brothers would come and help me, and my dad would just like hold the door open. It was just awkward. And so yeah, it was awkward because I think he was embarrassed. I don't know. I felt like he was trying to like distance himself. I don't know. I don't know what he was trying to prove, but there was, I don't know. It was just weird. And so
Yeah,
from there,
but it's his grandchildren, you know, he could take the grandchildren.
yeah, he would at times, but I don't know. I feel like he just felt uncomfortable. I don't know, because I don't know. I was pretty much like the black sheep. I was completely cast out of the family, and so, and I didn't have a relationship with him for like what, 3-4 years. It was so weird for him, I guess, and he wasn't really around his grandchildren anyway. So it was just in, like, I don't know. It was weird, and I was never that close to him growing up. I wasn't close to my parents growing up. I had a weird JW upbringing, but anyway, so I'm gonna try to hurry through the story because to me it feels like such a long story, and so I have to like explain everything, and I don't want to like bore anybody. So from there, pretty much, my aunt said I can only stay there 3 months because her congregation needed somewhere for the weekend, I guess, to have their service meetings, and she said that, oh, that the elders told her that she couldn't have the service meeting there on the weekends, you know, like for preaching, because I was living there. And so she was like, I really want them to do it here. Like, I want to feel like, you know, I want to, whatever, you know, and so whatever her JW reasons were to make herself look better in the congregation, or I don't know. And so at the end of the 3 months, I I was working at a school, but I didn't make very much because I didn't have a degree yet, and so it was an entry-level position. My kid's dad, my ex-husband, I was already divorced at this time, but I was in the process of divorce. But in the process of divorce, he was incarcerated, and he got 7 years. So I had literally no support, like financially or anything. So it was really hard for me to get like a stable place to live for me and my kids and all that stuff. So I needed more time to save up. And so either way, I was paying my aunt for rent. But anyways, I was not in a financial situation where I could just be like, okay, 3 months, that's fine. I'll just get a place, you know, like it was in that kind of situation. And so my dad, I don't know, but he asked my mom and my siblings if I could move in with them. And they didn't want to. They were like, no, the elders told my mom, no, do not let her move in. Don't let her bring your kids to your house because then it's not gonna allow her to repent. Like I don't know, something weird like that. Like she needs to be disciplined, and if you help her, it's not gonna help her come back. Like stuff like that, something like that. Like I don't know the exact words of what they said, but that's pretty much what they were telling her. They told her not to let me let me move in. And my mom actually had the service meetings there for the English congregation. They would meet there to go out in service. And my older sister was part of the ASL congregation, and so they also had the ASL meetings there too, like for service during the week and on the weekends. My family was really in, and so my mom didn't want to give that up, and my sister didn't want to, because it was really hard for the ASL group or congregation to find homes to meet, to go out and preach. And so they didn't really want to do that. And so I guess eventually my sisters came to my aunt's house and talked to me, and they were like, it was really weird talking to them after not seeing them for that long. I mean, I don't know, I guess it's not that long to some people that have gone more years, but to me, because I was so young and I was really lost, and I didn't really have anybody, in my life. Like I didn't really have family besides them. So it was just really weird talking to them again. And they were just like, well, why do you need to move in? Why can't you just go to your ex-husband's family? And I'm like, okay, because I'm like divorcing him. I can't just live with my mother-in-law. Like I'm divorcing him. Like, and so I had to explain a lot of things. They had to ask me stuff, and in the end, my siblings were like, okay, well, we're gonna think about it, and we're gonna talk to my mom, and we'll see. So it was weird. And
but
so
witnesses. Yeah, sorry.
mhm.
Yeah,
No,
witnesses
it's okay,
always
go
say
on.
that we don't have a hierarchy, or it's not about status. But looking back, it's a lot about status. Like you're
Mhm.
a young mother with 2 kids, and now having the service meeting, give us this amount of status in the organization, and that's enough
Mhm.
for us to keep you living on the street. Worst case scenario,
And as much as
very
they,
much about
Oh yeah.
status.
as much as they claim to follow the Bible, when it comes to those disfellowshipping trials, the Bible says they should take it to the entire congregation, not just to
Yeah,
a few elders in a back room somewhere.
yeah,
So they're not even
Yes.
following what's Jesus said,
yeah.
Yes,
peculiar.
it's completely unbiblical. The judicial committee, like the fact that it's not biblical. There's literally nowhere in the Bible where it says 3 men have to meet with somebody to decide, and that they get to decide that. No, like only God can judge, right? That's something else that's in the Bible. So, but at the
No,
time I thought, yeah,
the
sorry.
disfellowshipping authority in the
Mhm.
Bible was to apostles. It was Apostle Paul that disfellowshipped people, not 3 elders. And if your brother sins against you, you should talk to him, take someone with you.
Mhm.
And if he doesn't
That's
listen
three
to you,
witnesses.
to the congregation.
The entire, yeah.
Yes.
So it was done in public. We have a sister 5-year-old are accusing brother pedophile of sexual assault again,
Yeah.
and this way, if he's innocent, he can deny everything. He's a grown-up, so he will survive that.
But we lost her.
He lost, and now she's coming back probably.
I'm going to be taking off shortly too. I have to do something for my wife, but thanks
Yeah,
for having me. I'll wait till she hops back
no,
on.
she probably come back. Let's hope she come back. She has a lot of kids to run around and chase. I was talking with them yesterday, and they started talking Spanish, and they thought I didn't understand it, but I understand it. But they just said we run out of eggs. So it was no dirty talk. So
At least I got to the point with my in-laws that when they're talking in Romanian, I can at least understand half of what they're saying. So if they're talking about me, I can catch it, catch the
you always understand what they're talking about when you live with, well, obviously you live with your wife, so you basically know all the stories. It's really easy to pick up when you're learning a foreign language, au naturel.
Jennifer, thank you for your story. It's very sad. I can only ask, may God be with you and keep strong. You sound like a
I'm sorry it's so long,
No,
but
no,
it actually ends on a very positive note. Surprisingly, it doesn't seem like it, but is it okay if I finish it? I'm so sorry. I
please, I'd
know.
like to hear it, then I have to go too.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'll just go really quickly. So they did let me move in with my mom's house against the elders' advice, and I was there for like a month or two. It was so terrible living with them. They were just at every chance they would get, they were so negative. Oh my gosh. But anyways, I guess my presence there, little by little, my sister started talking to me, and my older sister started telling me like things that were going on with her at work, and like doubts she had. Like one of her bosses told her, "Oh, you're not a leader, you're a follower." And she was so angry. She was like, "I'm not a follower. Like most Jehovah's Witnesses don't go to college. I'm a young girl. I went to college and like all this stuff, because she actually went to college and got a degree, and she was working in a very professional field, unlike most JWs that are raised in it, right? And so she went through a lot of like little, I don't know, situations that kind of like made her doubt the religion, because I don't know, all these little things. And she would come to me when I was living there, and she would tell me, "Dude, this happened to me at work," and she would cry and tell me. And I was so shocked. I'm like, "Why are you talking to me? Like, you shouldn't even be talking to me. I'm disfellowshipped." Like, and she was like, "Well, I can't talk about this to anybody else. I can't talk to a Jehovah's Witness. I can't talk to my friends. I can't talk to my sisters or my mom." Like, and so little by little, we started realizing stuff, and she looked up like, why am I a follower? And that's how she fell into the rabbit hole of researching the organization, and she realized that how much it influenced her and how she acted and all this stuff about her, and she realized that in a way she was a follower because she was a follower of the organization. And so that she went on her own little personal thing, and then I always was going, I don't know, I kind of believed in it, but I didn't. I wasn't sure. I was so lost and confused, because part of me wanted to believe that it was true, and part of me was like, well, I want to be with my family. So I have to go back. Another part of me, though, I couldn't make sense of like how they treated me. Like, that did not feel right. I felt like God would have understood. Like, God would have known that I never did anything on purpose. Like, I didn't plan things out. I didn't think, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go and talk to somebody. I'm gonna go and like do stuff with him that's bad." Like, never. Like, he pressured me, and I didn't really feel like I did it on purpose, and I deserved that treatment. Like, I don't think anybody deserves to be treated that way. That was so bad. Like, and so anyways, my little sister, who was a pioneer, she was applying to go to Bethel. I guess she started researching things on her own. And she's the one that one day she asked me, "Hey, Jenny, have you heard of the Australian Royal Commission and like what they found out about the Jehovah's Witnesses?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what that is. I never heard of it." She's like, "You should look it up." And she was an active JW, a regular pioneer applying to go to Bethel, and she was told me that. And so I looked it up, and I was mind blown. And then she told me about the United Nations, and how the Watchtower was associated with them, and that whole thing. And so I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe her. I was like, "What? Like, are you kidding me? That means my whole life was a freaking lie. That means that everything I went through was because of these people and not because of God." Like, oh my gosh, I kind of felt like that, but I wasn't sure. And so it was just
So
so,
you were
it was,
still believing in that point.
yeah, I wasn't sure though. I was kind of like in the middle. I was going through cognitive dissonance the whole time I was disfellowshipped. I didn't believe it, but part of me was like, how could I not? Like, what about this or what about that? And so it was so stressful to have to go through that process. But in the end, I told my family, I was like, "I'm sorry, but I've realized that it's wrong. I don't believe in it. Like, I'm not gonna go back." At that point, my mom was like, "You need to leave. You can't live here. Like, you can only be here as long as you're trying to be a Jehovah's Witness again and come back to Jehovah and all this stuff." And but by that time, I was like, "Okay, fine. I already applied for an apartment. Like, I already got approved. I'm just waiting for the move-in date. Like, I already had my deposit and all that stuff. So I was ready to move out. I just had to wait for the move-in date." And so I was ready to move out, and then but and so that's how I woke up pretty much. And I feel like I was kind of awake the whole time I was disfellowship, but I wasn't completely. And at that, I guess living with my JW family, seeing how hypocritical a lot of the things they did were, like my sisters fighting all the time, and they were just really angry and unhappy. And I was just like, "Oh yeah, I remember these days. I remember being depressed when I was a witness. Like, how could it be the truth?" Like, I was around these people. And then just living around them and feeling like I want to be with my family. I want to talk to them, I want to have a relationship with them, but the religion doesn't let us. Like, that's wrong. Especially when you're living with them, like, they weren't supposed to talk to me at all. Like, it's so crazy. So anyways, in the end, I moved out, and my little sister, well, no, it gets worse. So my little brother was studying with the lead, like the main coordinator of the congregation that my siblings and my mom went to. My older sister was in the ASL. He was studying with the coordinator of whatever it's called, and like the main elder that's in charge, I guess. And so he told my mom, like, I don't like him. I don't like studying with him. Like, he's kind of rude sometimes. Like, he gets impatient with me. Like, he expects me to understand everything really fast, and I'm not that smart. I'm kind of slow. And so my mom was like, okay, fine, we'll get another teacher for you. But since I don't know why, but this elder, he was the one that I told you guys about. Like, he was the one that was really rude and condescending to me when I was like getting disfellowshipped. And so he got really offended when my mom told him that he didn't want to study with him anymore. He got really offended. He got really angry, and he yelled at my brother. He was like, "Why wouldn't you want to study with me? Like I'm of all the people in the congregation, I'm the most qualified. Like, are you doubting my abilities?" He got really offended. He said a lot of stuff like that. I'm chosen by the Holy Spirit. Like, why would you not want to study with me? And I don't know. I feel like he thought that I was turning my family against him or something. I wasn't. Like, my family, like, we never talked about him. And so he even threatened to disfellowship my brother. He was so angry. He had like some kind of tantrum, like an adult tantrum. And my little sister was there, the one that was a regular pioneer that was applying to go to Bethel. She was there. She saw the whole thing happen. My mom was there. He completely lost it. He was like, I should put you in a judicial committee because of I don't know, questioning me or not trusting me. I'm chosen by the Holy Spirit. Like, you're not, like, I don't know, something weird, like some kind of one of the sins that they have in their list. I don't know. I don't remember what it is. But he was like, I don't know. I don't remember. Something. I don't remember I can ask my brother and he'll tell me, but I don't remember. And so that was like what my sister and my brother needed. They were just shocked. They were like, "Why would you talk to us like this? Like, we're not doing anything wrong. My brother just wants to study with somebody else." Like, and he was
Four of you.
yelling at them. It was, huh?
So now there's four of you out: your father, your brother, your sister, and you.
Yeah, and so when this happened, my older sister was around, and she wasn't there when it happened, but she was there when they came home crying. My mom didn't even care. She was just like, we have to respect the elders. We have to do what they say. And my brother was like, what do you mean? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, I wasn't even talking back to him. I was just crying. They were just crying. And my little sister was like, they were crying when they got home I remember when they got home from that, they stayed after the meeting to talk to the elder. And so they came home kind of late. And I remember they got home crying, my siblings. And my mom she didn't even care. She was not fazed at all. And so I think that was the breaking point for them. My little sister did more research. She went down the rabbit hole. She read everything there is out there. She even looked up the quotes that they have in the literature that they use to support what they teach. And she realized that a lot of them are taken out of context and are not even supporting what they're saying. They're just completely taken out of context. So in the end, she was like, I'm just going to become inactive. I don't want to be pioneer anymore. So she stopped pioneering. My older sister did too. My little brother, he still went to meetings just so my mom wouldn't go alone because he felt bad for her. And so, oh man. And so at that point, that was when I moved out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was when I moved out. And my sister was talking to me again, my little sister, my older sister. It wasn't a lot at first, but they were starting to realize that, it was not true, it was false. So my brother, he came out as gay at one point and he stopped going to. My little sister, as soon as she stopped going to the meetings, all of her friends stopped talking to her and avoided her. And she was so devastated. She was like, I'm not even disfellowshipped. Like, I just haven't been going to the meetings and they're already shunning me. This is crazy. And because of that, she called all her friends, the ones that did answer her. She told them why. She told them everything. If they listened, some of them hung up. She had one friend, her best friend, that actually listened and heard her side. Yeah.
She's got a strong
So,
personality.
yeah, she told them, and she told her best friend why she was leaving. she was like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm the same person as before. I'm not sinning or doing anything wrong. I haven't done anything. I don't talk to boys. Like, she was like, I think 18 at the time. And so she was like, I'm not talking to any boys. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong yet. Like, I don't plan to. I just don't believe in it anymore. And this is why. And her friend was like, oh, okay, well, I understand, but I don't think I can talk to you anymore. So she pretty much completely ignored everything my sister said. And then from there, they didn't talk anymore. My sister was really devastated. That was her best friend from like so many years. So, and so after that, my little sister disassociated herself because of the shunning. She was like so appalled by it because she never realized how it felt to be shunned. Like, you don't really understand until you go through that, like how oh my God, how just how like bad it is, like how negative, how so she was just so like, she just couldn't believe how damaging it was. She lost all her friends, everything she cared about. She was very active, so she had a lot of friends. And she disassociated. My older sister did not disassociate. She just stopped pioneering. She just completely avoided the ASL congregation. Like, she ignored the elders when they called her. She didn't answer the door. She just completely avoided them, and eventually they just kind of gave up. And like, they sent her letters and they would text her, and she just completely ignored them. And so technically she's inactive, but she does not believe in it. And my mom threatened to kick my siblings out. My mom went into this crazy, like, hateful, like, I don't know like what it's like. She had like a some kind of health crisis and a mental health crisis, and she was telling my siblings that she was gonna kill herself, that she was gonna like leave and become a homeless person so we wouldn't be able to find her. And my sisters took her to the like one of the behavioral health centers, and she did not want to go in. She was just trying to get all this attention. She was trying to victimize herself. She was trying to make my siblings feel guilty for leaving.
And
She kept
unless
telling
they
them
recognize
things.
they have a problem or that they need help, they
Mhm.
really don't get any help at all, usually.
No, and at first she completely refused it. She didn't want to acknowledge it. My siblings called our other family that were JWs, because I mean my older sister did, because she was older, and she was technically, she was inactive, so they couldn't, like, I guess they're not supposed to shun her. I don't know, but my grandma did talk to my older sister, and she came to the house. She talked to my mom, and she convinced my mom to go into like some kind of behavioral like health place. Okay. And so from there, my mom was at this like hospital, and she didn't. Oh wait, no, that's not what happened. My mom refused everything up until, like, I think it was a Friday. She told my older sister she was gonna run away and leave, and she left. My sister was like, "Fine, you're an adult. You can do what you want. We're tired of this," because she was upset. She didn't believe her. She didn't think she was gonna do anything. And so my mom left and just disappeared. And so my sister was like, she's probably in the backyard, or she's probably down the street, like with the Jehovah's Witness, because they were all around where we lived in our neighborhood. We knew all the witnesses in our area pretty much, because we grew up in the area with them. So, so my mom disappeared for the whole weekend. We didn't know where she was or anything. Okay, just a moment. Just a moment. I'll be right back.
You're on mute, Jonas.
So it started rain. This is my office. It's kind of small. I can show it to you.
Sing us a song.
Sing you a song? Well, I could do that. No, but it gets so warm with I have this big ass computer for editing. You really need a big computer, so it gets warm. So that's why I had to open the window, and it's raining, so I don't want to have too much noise here. Oh, that's good.
Okay.
So, no, I just tell you a story. It's kind of fun. I was a good guy. I was a good witness, and I woke up. I didn't try to wake anyone up. I was PMO for 14 years, and in the end, I stopped going to the meetings. and they started shunning me, and I actually didn't do anything. And obviously, so I asked my now ex-wife, you think this is fair what they're doing to me? Because I've been a good guy my whole life, and the only thing I don't do is not to go to the meetings, which you actually don't have to do according to the Bible. It says you should not avoid meetings, but it's not mandatory to go to all the meetings. And at the time when that was written, they did not have kingdom halls. That's a later concept.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, so not going to the meetings is, yeah. But anyway, she said, God bless her. She was kind of fun. Her mind were drifting a little, but she said, the reason we are shunning you is not because you go to the meetings, that because of your bad behavior. And I said, well, that's fair. So what is my bad behavior? Because they obviously been talking this in the congregation, I was shunned because of my bad behavior, not because I didn't go to meetings. I said, what? That would be fair. I said, what's my bad behavior? And he said, your refusal to serve Jehovah. So it's nothing to do with religion. It's just your bad behavior.
Not selling books door to door.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Witnesses believe if you don't go to meetings, if you don't believe, you're an immoral person. That's one of the reasons why I was PMO for so long, because I actually thought that. It was so engraved in me. If you're not a Jehovah Witness, if you don't believe, if you don't have faith, you're a terrible person. So saying that I lost my faith is the same as saying I'm a terrible person. People still believe faith is a good thing. I think faith is just...
I do, yeah.
It's a neutral word. So sorry for talking. Jennifer, tell us more. She has a fun story. She should.
Yeah,
It's okay. I'm sorry. I had to leave for a second there because my daughter got distracted and she's like, Mom, I need something. So I had to go. But so in the end, my siblings woke up. My older sister, because she had gone to university and she had a job in a very high paying professional industry, and she pretty much had a career. She was able to move out, when this was all going on. My mom was going crazy. She was just being really I don't know, unstable. And
so your mother lost her entire family, her husband and all her kids.
yeah, and yep, she did pretty much. That's so sad for her, and I feel really bad for her, but I mean, I can't do anything about it. We've tried to help her and it never ends well. But the great thing though is that we have each other. We survived, and we're happier now than we ever were, and our relationship is way better. My sister, now that she wasn't bogged down by the religion and all that it requires of a regular pioneer, she was able to focus on her career more. And she bought a townhouse for her and my little sister to live in. Me and my dad bought a house together this year, so we're all definitely in a better place in a lot of ways than we ever would have been, than we ever were when we were in the organization. And we got to celebrate the holidays together. That's great. My kids will grow up knowing their aunts, and having them in their lives, and their grandpa. So that's definitely the best part, even though it was hard, for a while, the journey. But I wish that more people could say this, that's...
You were strong and you stuck to it. And all of your family, except for your mother, figured it out as well. So that's really good that you're almost all of you are together.
Yeah. It is, yeah. And I don't know, I still can't believe it sometimes. I'm like, what? And it's so hard to just forget about everything that happened. It's I don't know, I feel like it was a big part of us and how we were. We kind of had to build everything again as a family, because we never really knew how to be a family without the organization. So, but it's definitely better now than before ever.
Yeah. So you were the first one to wake up?
I'm not sure.
Sounds like your Bethelite sister woke up before you. She tried to do some apostasy while pioneering.
Because of the Astoria Royal Commission.
Yeah, she was the one showing you stuff.
Yeah, she was.
And using you like a guinea pig. That's typical human being behavior. We push someone else out first to see if there's lions, Is there lions down the tree? We push someone down and see if no lions, then we go down. So
She didn't get
That's
struck by
true.
lightning, so I'm on my way out too.
That's so funny. I didn't think about it like that. No, I think she had doubts. I don't think she was fully awake though, because I remember when I
think
woke
you were a
up.
guinea pig.
Yeah, I think so too. Because when I woke up, I asked her, would you ever leave the organization? Would you ever stop going? And she told me no. Before the whole thing happened with the elder, I think that's what woke her up. But in the beginning, her just doing research, she just kind of had doubts, I think. But I remember I asked her, would you ever leave? And she was like, no, I don't think I can. My life is just so involved with it. And it's so important. Like, it's such a big part of my life. Like, my friends, everything are in it. So I don't see myself not being in it. And so at first, that's what she told me. And so at that point, I was awakening already. Like, I think I was already awake, or I was in the process of waking up. And I don't think she was awake yet.
I'm a Christian, and I think it's okay to have doubts, and it's okay to question. In India, I have a lot of friends in India, and a lot of them don't say, I have a question. They say, I have a doubt. Because isn't that what a question is? It's a doubt about something. And you may not have all the answers, but it's okay. As long as whatever religious organization you're in allows you to voice those questions and question it. It's a healthy thing.
And the figure Jesus in the Bible, he was obviously okay with doubts. He never condemned someone for not having doubts. And then in the rest of the Bible, they turn it into, if you have doubts, you burn in hell. But the Jesus figure was okay with it. He showed
like publicans and sinners.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
no. And you see many religions are created with, there's a leader and he has a very special childhood. And he was very intelligent, he's this hero figure. And then he go out in the wilderness or a hill or a mountain or something like Jesus or Joseph Smith. And then they often talk a lot about doubt, which, like the Mormons, which church is true. So then they are embracing doubt and they get an answer. But after that, when we got an answer, then no more doubt.
You're talking Joseph Campbell's hero story.
What?
Have you ever read Joseph Campbell's hero story? He goes a lot into mythology, and all the hero journeys are exactly that. They start out with that. They go off into the wilderness. They're the reluctant hero.
They always have this. They see God or Jesus or something. Always out in the mountain with no other witnesses present.
Luke Skywalker had his Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Okay. Yeah, I never met him, but no, but there's a lot of resemblance that, and they had this wonderful childhood that's very unique. Jesus have it, and what they call the Scientologist guys, Ron Hubbard also.
Ron Hubbard,
special child. They create. But after the leader found the truth, then it's nope, no more doubts. From now on, you have doubts, you go to hell. Doubts were only for our leader before he get the vision that only he got.
Keep questioning, keep doubting, keep searching. Thank you, Jennifer, for your story. Thank you, Jonas. I'm taking off now.
Thanks for saving me when everyone else bail out. So we will hear the rest of Jennifer's story. She had an interesting story. But I just tell you about our friend Matt McMillan. He had some internet problems, so he had sent me a message. Now it won't work, so we can do that. So because I announced that we will be talking about activism, because he had some interesting things, but we can do that another time. So sorry about that. Well, Jennifer, tell the rest of the story.
Oh, that's pretty much it. That was all of it. I just wanted to say thanks for everybody for listening to my story. I hope it wasn't too long. It's hard for me to just get to the point and of like, I don't know, because it just, to me, it's just so detailed, and there was a lot that I didn't mention too, but that was most of it. So yeah.
But we call this the Pimo to Pomo show. So you're now Pomo. You tell us something, because you're, like I always say, see in paradise. We can build our own paradise. You're building your own paradise. I've seen your house.
Yes. So wait, what's your question? Your question is to tell you guys something about being
Yes, the
Pomo?
fact that there's a life outside. You bought a house. That's impressive for a single lady with 2 kids. And did you get a goat for the garden?
Not yet, because I don't want to only get one goat because I don't want him to be lonely. So I haven't. I want
Uh,
to.
yeah, goats turn into two goats on a daily basis almost, I think. They're everywhere soon. No, but now you don't have to tell us more than you want to. But I can tell everyone that you're getting an education and you get yourself a house and a lot of good stuff going on. And
Oh yeah, yeah,
you
that's
got
true.
eggs.
Yes. I am going to college online, and I'm working on my bachelor's degree. I
Yeah.
never finished, so. But does anybody have questions? Do you guys have questions? Like,
Yeah.
I,
Please send in questions, and you get a link here if you want to call in. I see Heather Rant is there, so she can, if she wants to, because she knows how to do it. She came on last time. But we were talking about
oh, okay.
activism. You wanted to do a channel or activism. What have you tried and what worked and what did not work? What do you think?
Okay, so when I have tried to approach Jehovah's Witnesses in person, I get nervous. Like, I don't know, I think it's my PTSD or like I get anxiety. So I have approached them, but um, I don't know. It never really leads to anything, really. I feel like it has to just happen naturally to them. You know, it has, I don't know. I don't think there is a way to wake somebody up, and if there is, I don't know it. Like, if, especially if it's a stranger, I don't know, but I have tried talking to them and in a nice way, you know, and just told them, you know, just things about the Watchtower, not directly, but I'll ask them questions. I especially target the young people, and I tell them, like, you know, like, how are you sure, like, oh, that this is like, what do you guys teach anyways? Like, I try to act like I don't know anything about it, and I ask them questions, and I tell them, like, you know, there's a lot of different perspectives, but this is just a man's perspective of the Bible. It's an interpretation. So all of this is just an interpretation. You guys know that, right? And like, I don't know, they always look at me weird. But I haven't been doing that recently because of COVID, but online I go online a lot. I go on Quora and YouTube, and I talk to, like, I try to tell the GWs, but I don't think it really works. They just like try to find something and like, and just, I don't know, they just keep trying to go, like, I don't know, it just feels like we're going in circles. Like, they never want to accept anything, you know. So I
Yeah,
don't know, yeah.
there are some tricks I found out it works. First, Jehovah Witnesses are
Mhm.
suckers for praise. So you say, "Are you Jehovah Witnesses? I love Jehovah Witnesses." And well, that's a big good one. And then always say that I always say my grandmother was a Jehovah, because then they know that I have some knowledge. Otherwise, if you say, "Are you Jehovah Witnesses?" and you start talking, you have some knowledge, they believe that, okay, she's an apostate. So I always do
Mhm.
that. "Oh, Jehovah Witnesses. I didn't know there were Jehovah Witnesses here." And they love that. "No, we're everywhere." Oh.
Mhm. That's
And like all the
true.
defenses go down when you praise them. And
Mhm.
when we're protesting, I do the same when we're protesting outside conventions. Say, we're not protesting against the Jehovah Witnesses. We love the Jehovah Witnesses. We're protesting against the evil watchtower. And they get very confused, but the shutters don't go down because you just told them that you love them.
Yes, I do that. I do tell them that because a lot, they online, they always assume that I'm some angry like person that's just trying to attack them, and I always have to tell them, like, you know what, it was you. Like, why would I hate something that I was? Like, if anything, I have empathy for you, and I wish I could help you because that was me at one point, and that was my family, and that still is my mom, and I care about her. So, you know, like, when I see Jehovah's Witnesses, I think of myself, I think of my family. So there's no hate there, really. I see them as victims, definitely. And I do praise them. The last time I talked to like Jehovah's Witnesses in person, they were at a cart. I went up to them and I just asked them questions, and I was like, wow, I'm really like, I really admire you guys for what you guys do, because not a lot of religions are gonna stand there in the heat. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. It's hot. And so I told them not a lot of people are gonna stand there, you know, for their religion and what they believe in. Like, that's really admirable. So I always tell them that. I do tell them that kind of stuff. And I don't mention that I was a witness, but I always tell them something like, oh, my best friend was a witness, or my mom is a Jehovah's Witness. But I don't tell them I was raised in it. I feel like that would make me seem very biased.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
no, they're often nice people.
Yeah.
So no, it's kind of fun because you know what they will say. So if you put some thoughts into it and just say the stuff they want to hear, then you can keep conversation going for a long time. Like I remember I was, the Copenhagen Convention. You will never hear me stop talking about that because it was fun. I just went up to the attendants and had a very open body language talking to them. And they could see, and as soon as people started accepting, okay, the attendants are allowed to talk to the apostates, then all the attendants were talking to me, and then the witnesses were talking to me. So and they let us into the building and everything.
Really? What?
They were breaking all the rules. I was shaking hand with the attendant, saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't take it personally. We're not protesting." The witnesses, no, we heard that. It's just the evil watchtower.
That's so
And we were
interesting that they
shaking
did
hands
that.
with the attendants in public.
Yeah, and I've wanted to protest, with the signs and stuff, but I found it difficult to find other people that want to do it too in my area, and I don't want to be the only one, and so like my siblings were kind of like, yeah, we will, or I don't know, like kind of hesitant. We did have an international convention here, I think the last year, and I really wanted to go, but it was just not feasible because like with my kids and having to get a babysitter or having to take them with me, and then I haven't been able to do that kind of activism. I want to one day, eventually, but yeah, I definitely admire you
It's very
guys.
empowering
Somebody
because you
said they
take
have
power.
sorry, it's just that somebody said they had a question
Yeah, also
in
guy
the
had a
comments.
question. He doesn't say what question, so I was planning 12 protests this year, or we had a goal for 12 protests. I don't know how many concrete plans we had, but the goal was 12 protests, and then nothing happened. Well, actually, the first one that was canceled was in Kiev, Ukraine. I speak Russian, I wanted to go there to support Sergei and see Ukraine. I've never been there. And then, well, now this weekend we should have been in Zurich. We have to take it next year instead. So that will be fun. No, but what we were talking about with Matt, because the witnesses now, they will have a special campaign in November about God's kingdom, something like that. And, they try to always send this message like, well, obviously it's Armageddon and the last days of the last days, the final part of the final part of the last days of the last days. But, they say they should go out with a hailstorm message, which is not in the Bible, really. They really take that out of its, what you call it, the context. But anyway, so I know my father, he will see this November thing as the hailstone message. And then when there's no Armageddon, they will say that, well, it didn't say that this was the hailstone message. Anyway, since we know they will have a special campaign and, they will probably be standing with cards and stuff like that, we could too have a special campaign. Not aggressive. So we're just standing, if they're standing on street corners, we stand on street corners, like a few meters apart, with big signs that tells them about Watchtower violate human rights, or the foundings from the Australian Royal Commission. That would be so fun, because it's really, well, it costs money to make some signs and stuff like that, but to have like some kind of professional things and just be standing by them, we could do that. Are you going to Cardiff again, is someone asking. Are you asking me? Because I never been to Cardiff. I actually own a company.
Me neither.
Wales. So don't be deceived. I have a question. So me going to Cardiff? No, I never been there before, if that question was for me. So will there be any convention in Texas next year? You know that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't really
Arizona.
keep up with the. Oh, somebody else? You're asking somebody else?
No, I'm asking
Oh,
you.
in Arizona. Oh, okay. No, I'm not sure. I don't really keep up with the JW stuff in my area. I really haven't. I haven't been really like too like active in JW activism besides just online, talking to people online. But I was going to tell you something though. I was going to tell you about the Armageddon thing. Yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses they they're obsessed with Armageddon. But so I actually got in I got in contact with like an old friend of mine when I was a Jehovah's Witness, and he actually talked to me. And I told him, like, I didn't tell him in the beginning, but like I told him later on, and he was okay with it. I think he's like he's on awake, but he's like having too many doubts. I don't know. But he was just completely he completely believes that Armageddon is going to be here any day now. But that got me thinking, and there was really no way for me to prove it to him. But I looked it up and I did some research, and I even asked Christians and other religions that believe in the Bible about Armageddon, and pretty much what I found out was that it was not literal. Like the Watchtower wants to take some things to make them literal, and everything else is symbolic. Like they really just pick and choose things. Yeah.
And they pick and choose what, like 144,000. That's a symbolic number times a symbolic number. You get a literal number.
Yes. And there's so many. Yeah.
It's a lot of pick and choosing. I can basically prove anything from the Bible. I tried it. I'm good with my Bible, and if you just assume that the audience have the non-critical thinking skill like what Jehovah Witness congregation have, it's actually not so difficult to convince them that there have been new light, and they will believe you. You can basically tell them almost anything. Like I got Jehovah Witnesses to say that they would rather die than to go to the dentist, because I quoted some scriptures that say that I will not sit down with the wicked one.
Yeah. Like, you know what is another example too? Like, how they pretty much they preach this teaching, this belief that the whole world is in control of Satan.
Yeah.
And from what I remember from my pioneer time and my whole life in it, that was pretty much based off of the scripture that says like the world is in control of the evil one.
Yeah.
I'm translating because I actually went to the Spanish congregation growing up, and I was a pioneer in the Spanish, so I don't really remember if that's how it is in English, but that's pretty much what it says. And so, but now that I think about it, it's like, how do you even know that that's talking about Satan? Like, maybe it just means that evil people control the earth, like in general, like people that are evil,
Yeah.
like they just have to twist everything to fit their narrative and manipulate the scriptures. They've even had to change them. I found that out too, because when I was talking to a Christian about Armageddon, the Christian told me that there is a scripture in the Bible where it says something. I don't remember which one it was. I have to look it up and have it with me because I don't remember this stuff. But there's a scripture pretty much that says that this is how you'll know you're living in the times of the end, because Jesus is here teaching us, something like that. And so, and the Christian was telling me that was when the last days started, like, because there was the last days of I guess like Judaism as they knew it, because Jesus was teaching something new. And so that's pretty much what it meant. It meant that Jesus was starting the last days of I don't know, like, I guess what they believed, and Jesus was going to start teaching something new. It didn't mean that it was going to be the last days, because in the Watchtower context of that phrase, the last days, they use it for something else. And so I looked up the scripture and I was like, oh my God, this guy is right. And I looked at I think I looked at like 5 different translations of the Bible, and they all said the same thing, like in some of them different words, but they pretty much were saying, this is how you will know that you're living in the last days. because Jesus is here preaching, he's teaching, he's here. And so, but in the Watchtower version, in the New World Translation, it didn't say that. It said something else. And I was so shocked. I was like, wow, they really changed it. That was just one example. They changed John 1:1, of course. And I'm sure there's a lot of examples of scriptures that the Watchtower has literally changed. That's crazy when you think about it, because to a lot of Christian religions, that's like such a bad thing. Like, I don't know, what is it called? Like sinning against the Holy Spirit, because you're literally changing the Holy Bible, God's word,
Yeah.
And the Watchtower did that.
I don't believe in the Bible anymore. So then you just get it from a different perspective, because it's kind of ridiculous. If someone sins against me, I can forgive him. If someone sins against the child is supposed to forgive him. So why couldn't the Holy Spirit take the high road? It's like, oh, I'm the creator of the universe and I can take a joke. That's unheard of. Satire, irony, sticks and stones break my bones. Have anyone ever sinned against Jehovah physically, like punched him or anything and give him any damage? It's just words, literally words.
Oh yeah, of course. I agree with you. So
the concept with sinning against the Holy Spirit, that's a ridiculous Holy Spirit. Excuse me for saying so. Because if I can take the high road, why can't Jehovah take the high road?
I have a question for you now that we're talking about this.
Yes.
So you don't believe in the Bible? Like, in what context?
I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. So you said that you don't believe in the Bible. Like, in what? So you don't believe the Bible is the word of God, like in that context?
Yeah, I believe in the Bible because I've seen it, but I don't believe it's written by God because it's self-contradictory. And also, there's progress. It starts like a desert religion where Jehovah is actually a guy that visits Abraham. It says that Abraham was visited by Jehovah. It was a very kind of primitive God, and then it goes all the way to Almighty Creator of the universe God in the other end. That's just a desert religion that evolves, and the wisdom that can be found in the Bible that was so great. If I would write the Bible and I was God, and I would kind of write the same kind of book, but I would put maybe one chapter about viruses, explain, well, I created viruses. It wasn't a good idea, but this is how they work. And then the next chapter, bacteria, that's a good idea, but some of them were really bad, and this is how they work. And then one about fungi and one about parasites. In the Bible, they're all mashed up into two descriptions of impurity and leprosy. So you can have a house can be described as having leprosy. And then there's several verses about the difference of being front bald or back bald. So it really doesn't make any sense, the stuff written there. So no, I don't believe in the Bible.
Oh, I don't either. Trust me. I honestly, I don't understand how some. I hope I don't sound rude, but like how some people go through that whole experience, being shunned and seeing how the Bible can be used in that way. The Bible literally allows this, like God allows this through the Bible, like to control others, and that makes me feel, after everything I've studied, because I did a lot of research, especially when I was first waking up. I had to figure out what I believed. I was like, if I don't believe this, what do I believe? What is the truth? Is there a truth? And I went through this identity crisis and this faith crisis. I went through this journey of like self-discovery, and I learned a lot. And now I really don't consider it to be the word of God. I don't. And so I agree with you, definitely. Like, I completely agree with you on that.
There's some places in the Bible where it contradicts itself every second verse. if you think about William, it says the Israelites, were going through the desert and they came to Moab, and then this king wanted to curse them, to the guy with the talking donkey. So the offer
I remember that.
to curse the Israelites, and first Jehovah told him that no, you can't go there, and then he said go there. So God changed his mind, and then and then when he did exactly what God told him, go there, God got angry and sent out an angel to kill him. But then God used the donkey to talk, so God was literally talking out of his ass, and telling that you should not go. But then when this William could see the angel, well, then God said, well, go anyway. So I think God changed his mind every second verse in like 5 times in a row. He said, don't go there, go there, I will kill you for going there. But okay, now you can see because of the talking donkey, I will not, and then go there anyway.
It's very difficult.
It would be the creator of the universe that say all this stuff, and
it's very difficult for me to see the Bible as the Word of God when you read the Old Testament. Just like reading the Old Testament, I think to me, and from an XJW perspective, from a perspective where I was not influenced by a religion or a pastor or anybody telling me what to believe, just reading the Old Testament on my own, just, without believing anything, without being sure what I believe in, I think that was what really made me not believe in the Bible as the Word of God, because like I didn't have anybody like trying to tell me like, oh, this is what it means, or no, this is what it means, and it's just the fact that God just in the Bible, that their version of God, destroyed whole villages of people, babies and women, like I don't know. I don't see that as a loving God. Like I don't know how that could be God and you could be okay with that. You know what I mean? I don't know. And he's all so jealous, obsessed with control, just like a human person. And so it makes me think that the God of the Bible was a human. It's just the God of the Old Testament, if anything. I don't know about what is it called?
He's really
the New
easy to be
Testament, the
offended,
Greek,
and he
the
gets
Greek
really mad
scriptures.
when he's offended. And okay, so when I was Pima, I had a lot of fun messing with witnesses because I knew how to ask questions, so they didn't take me for an apostate. I would just ask questions in a way, and I remember asking the elders, so when Jehovah spoke to Abraham, could other people hear him? No, it was only Abraham. Okay, so only Abraham could hear him. Could he see him? No, he couldn't see him. Okay, so, and then I said, if you could hear a voice in your head that say that it is Jehovah and you should kill your own son, would you listen to the voice in your head and do what it told you? The elder smiled and he thought a while, and then he said, well, I would make sure that it really was Jehovah. So he was thinking about killing his son. He said, I would think very carefully if this really was Jehovah's voice, the voice in your head. And I said, how would you know that? And he thought a while, and then he said, well, I would ask the voice if he could tell me something that only I knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me and later on I started thinking about it, and I was like, what is the difference between Abraham and I don't know, a cult leader from today, like the guy that founded, I don't know, Scientology or the Watchtower or all these leaders, these human male leaders? I don't know, maybe Abraham was schizophrenic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he just was a narcissist, and he was able to influence these other people to get them to believe all these crazy things, because we know that people are capable of doing that. For example, like all these high control groups and cults, like the one, I don't know, I forgot what it's called, but that one where those people drank the Kool-Aid and they died, that was a guy that was leader.
Yeah,
like he brainwashed them. So I don't know, it's so when I thought about that and the people in the Bible, I don't know, I see it differently now, definitely. But that doesn't mean I don't believe in something like a God. I don't have to believe in the Bible to believe in God. There's just so many other versions.
And I used to believe in evolution and God, even as a Jehovah Witness. I never had any problem with that. So, best of two worlds. But the funny thing with this big suicide, in People's Temple, it wasn't a suicide. It was like hundreds of kids. You can say that it was murder. But the witnesses love to use that story like, oh, that's a cult and we're not a cult. But if you ask Jehovah Witness, if the Watchtower told you to give a pill to your kids so they would wake up in paradise, would you do it? That's a yes and no question. And it's really easy to answer. You should say, no, I will not do that. Every normal worldly person just say, no, There's no Trump supporter probably, or any supporter of any political party or anything that would, if the leaders say, give this pill to your kids, they will say, yes, I do it. Maybe in North Korea, but even there, only a few. But Jehovah Witnesses, when you tell them, if the Watchtower give you a pill, you give a pill to your children so you will wake up in paradise, would you give that to your children? They say, they would never ask us to do it. They avoid, they don't answer it with a yes and no. They change the subject. And that's really scary. They always say, Watchtower would never ask us to do that. Well, if they did, would you do it? Watchtower would never. They over and over and over again, they avoid the answer no, which is the real answer.
Yes, and you know what? That reminds me.
To do it.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me when I was a Jehovah's Witness, and people would ask me, like, if you had a kid, if you had a child, would you allow them to die, if they needed a blood transfusion to live? Like, if it was one of those life and death situations, what would you choose? I would always be like, well, I don't know, because I'm not in that situation, but I would always avoid the question because part of me felt like it was wrong, but I still believed in it, so I couldn't say no,
Yeah.
I couldn't say yeah. So I can totally relate to that. Like, I remember when I was a witness, if somebody asked me that question that you asked them, I would avoid the answer. I would definitely respond in that way and be like, well, the Watchtower wouldn't do that.
Yeah. That's the point, it really shouldn't be hard to answer that question. It should just be, no, of course not.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when waking up, I would spend like hours explaining to my friends in detail why it's okay to take a blood transfusion, and they were obviously not in because it's obvious to them, okay. But for me, it was like I had to tell them in detail all the scriptures why it's okay.
Yeah. All right, Jonas. I have to go now. It was really nice talking to you, though, and to everybody here.
And
I'm glad I got to share my story.
We have no questions, so we can just turn off now. But thank you for coming on. So I know it takes time. You have a lot of kids. So say hello to your father and your kids.
I will.
Okay.
I will. Thank you for having me on here.
So that was fun. So Matt said he will come next time, so I hope he will do that. And we're sorry for not talking about the thing we told we should talk about. But think about it. It would be fun if they have now a campaign. It's international campaign, and they put up stands everywhere. And we just put up stands beside them, respectfully. We should treat them nice. It works really well to treat them nice, but just be standing like a few meters apart with a sign, Australian Royal Commission, case study 29, and hand out pamphlets. That would be so cool. We have 2 international campaigns. They do their doomsday propaganda, and we do our pro-human rights. J-Dub Life Matters. Dub Kids Life Matter. I don't know. You can call it whatever. So thank you for watching. And as always, I have to say, see you in paradise.